Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, a Stabby Chaos Coordinator, and one Chief Shenanigator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guest, Mr. Vincent C. Pidgeon, introduce himself to our listeners and viewers at home.
Hello there, I'm Vincent C. Pidgeon. Yes, you heard that right. It is Pigeon. So save your jokes. I'm the author of the Dreamweaver Legacy and hopefully many more books to come.
Okay. So before we get too deep into this one, first, we've had this conversation before because you came on the Polar Express review. And so we do want you to know that Vincent Pidgeon is not actually a pen name. That's his given name. So, much like a boy named Sue, the dude's like, mixed martial arts expert because everyone was beating him up as a kid, laughing at his name. So now he just stacks bodies. I'm not saying Chuck Norris learned a thing from him, but I'm not saying it either. I'm not saying it. All right. Are you familiar with that old song, or am I giving myself away by age? A Boy Named Sue.
I feel so old. I feel so old.
Okay, before we get started, we do have to do the religion question. Are you ready for this?
Yes, I am.
All right, Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Neither. Warhammer.
Warhammer. Okay, the Black Library. I'm digging it. What do you like about Warhammer?
At times it can feel a lot more realistic despite it being Warhammer.
Realistic in what way?
how things how things work and just how awful the universe can really be. I mean, a lot of time in a lot of other sci-fi that everything's clean, but in Warhammer everything's so dirty. You actually can see the space dust all over the place.
Okay, I get that. Sometimes space opera is really and space fleet is really bad about that. I mean, um, they everything's just too sterile because it makes a good image, but in real life, life is dirty. You're going to get grease stains, the occasional drip from a pipe, et cetera, et cetera. I do think Warhammer takes it to the absurd level, but that was kind of the starting point anyway. It was intended to be absurd,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of hard to compete with that. But I definitely think if you read some of the books, they definitely lean into the gritty realism.
Mm-hmm.
So
But I am a fan of the Ferengi from Star Wars. I mean, Star Trek.
okay, all right. And because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, the Wheel of Time, Chronicles of Narnia, or Game of Thrones.
I'll I'll go with the Conquerors of Narnia this time because it actually leads straight to my book.
Go on.
See, the main idea behind the Dreamweaver is basically humanity being gods of these many creatures. So it really came from Chronicles of Narnia, where the sons of Adam, daughters of Eve, supposed to be the rulers of Narnia. I, I just took that to the next step.
Okay. All right. So one of the crying shames of adulthood is we stop asking each other the important questions. And thanks to the generosity of our sponsors, we do bring that back here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. I'm going to ask you, sir, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Caposuchus.
Go on. Tell me. I haven't heard of this one.
Imagine a swamp puppy that being a gator if you don't speak South, but imagine that not only it mostly spends time on land, but it can gallop after you.
Okay.
And if you so happen to play Ark Survival Evolved, that that can ruin your day because it just launches itself at you and carry you halfway across the map.
And you said it's Capasuchus, like with a C?
Okay,
Okay. All right. I haven't heard of that one. I spelled it so badly that Word was like, what the heck, Chuck?
I think it was originally found in northern Africa.
Okay. I found the spelling, so it's kind of cool. I looked at a picture of it. You're right. It does. It does give the murder vibes to it, which is kind of part of the fun of dinosaurs. As long as you're not the one it's eating anyway. So, okay. And because we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, we are no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes. Coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Yeah, I'm from the South. The answer is always sweet tea. So
Table
sweet.
wine. It should be sweet enough to hold up the spoon and bring Wilfred Brimley back from the grave so he can slap you in the face and tell you, diabetes!
Yep.
Okay. All right. I dig the sweet tea. I had to cut back a lot because of calories, but I do love me some sweet tea. Do you prefer like making it on the stove over the rolling flame with the blending the water in that way, or sun tea?
I have both, and I like both.
Okay. Sun tea just hits differently when you're out working outside, I think, because it just, I don't know, it feels, I don't want to say fresher because it's the same tea water, but it feels fresher when you're drinking it.
Yeah, there was one summer where the only thing I drank was sun tea.
Yeah. So, okay. Whereabouts in the South are you from?
Charleston. So I'm from the Low Country.
So South Kakalaki. Okay. I've passed through there before. There's a Navy base there that I did some training at for the when I was in the Guard. So it floods a lot there. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I take my bad reviews to make them famous in the swamp, in the marshland.
All right, but you do have cool restaurants like Piggly Wiggly, and that's a funny name.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going to grad school in Philly, we actually had Acme as a grocery store, like the one from Disney. Or I mean, it's not Disney. The cartoons, Wiley Hanna-Barbera, I guess.
Yep.
When I saw that at first, I'm like, this can't be real. And then when it was, I bought so many of their like merch. They had magnets and stuff that I was sending to everyone because nobody believed it was real.
Yeah, and they're still around actually.
Yeah, and so is a Piggly Wiggly. I understand, although I don't know if that's all over the South or just the Southeast.
It's just a couple places left now. The last owner died, and his wife hightailed it out of there and stole all the money. So a lot of people lost their benefits because he took it all.
Yikes!
And so
this is why contracts are important.
Yeah, so a lot of the stores were bought up by Bilo or by the employees themselves to keep their job.
Okay. So we brought you on to talk about your book, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But before you decided that, hey, I want to write the books, I'm assuming you were a reader before that started. So how did your journey into nerddom begin?
Well, that was a long, long time ago. I'm not going back up to the very beginning. It was my father that actually got me into fantasy. He was a big fan of Tolkien, and so he showed me the old cartoon versions of this Tolkien works, Return of the King and The Hobbit, and that what really got me first into to fantasy. And then in middle school, I tore up every book I could find for the genre. Read Elgon about 8-10 times, and then after that, after some unfortunate events, they decided to put me in homeschool. And well, one day I was bored out of my mind, saw an empty notebook, and just started writing away on my very first attempt at writing a book.
You still have that?
Somewhere.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I have that very notebook here somewhere.
Okay. Are you ever going to go revisit that and try to turn it into something, or is it just a artifact of time?
Well, I tried 3 times to bring it back, and 3 times the computer died on me.
That's a sign from the heavens, I think.
Yeah. And the funny bit is, you probably would like this book, Jr. It was a shifter story.
I do love me some shifters.
Yeah. So,
Although sometimes I like the weird ones where they go, um, I don't know, just weird. Like everyone does the werewolves, that's cool, and the cats, but when they do other things, it can be funny.
yeah, I had werewolves, cats, bears, foxes.
Although you got to be careful what you're a shifter and where, because they had a guy that was into, like, what is he? He thought he was part animal, so he dressed like a deer, and he happened to be in the woods during hunting season, and it ended badly for him in all the predictable ways in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, so I'm imagining if you're a shifter, like you definitely want to be an apex predator type and not prey, because the last thing you need is a bunch of good old boys hunting you through the woods, right? When you're trying to just do your business. So can you imagine waking up and you're like a deer shifter or something crazy?
Yeah, poor Selkies.
Well, Selkies can be whatever they want, right?
No, the Selkies are always seals.
I thought Selkies could take any form.
No, Selkies are they when they're out of the water they're human, but when they're in the water they're wearing their silky pelt, and that turns them into a seal.
Okay. I am not up on all of the lore. I've that's why I've been doing some of the episode panels we've done to deep dive into some of these topics with people that get passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you prefer when it comes to your fantasy, since that's your primary focus? Do you prefer still to read it, or are you okay with some of the movie adaptations and just movie franchises?
Depends on the franchise. Some books are better. Some books are better than the movies, and sometimes the movie is much better than the book. Like Starship Troopers, for example.
You thought the movie Starship Troopers was better than the book?
Yes, sir. Because
I don't disagree. I still get hate mail about that, and that was episode one of my last podcast. So I like the book, but it read more like a political treatise than it did an action adventure story.
and I'm pretty sure that most people don't even know it was a book.
I don't know, because I feel like I'm kind of insulated in the reading community, so everybody knows. And it's not that I didn't like the book; I just liked it for different reasons. I mean, the same reason I read Marcus Aurelius Meditations is kind of the approach I get with Heinlein, at least that one. So, anyway, okay. Do you prefer your fantasy to be like classic high fantasy? Do you dig the urban fantasy? Do you have a preference?
As long as fantasy, I'm game.
Do you have a favorite fantasy franchise that you'd like to write in someday?
Oh, there's, there's so many. I got about two bookcases full enough of fantasy novels.
Oh yes, all the things.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're reading fantasy, do you have certain tropes that you enjoy as a consumer of the product? Because we'll get into the author side in a little bit, but when you're reading it, do you have certain tropes that you prefer, or certain themes?
Well, sometimes I can tell where the story's going, but I also want to see how to get to it. Like, for example, the 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 Belgarath books by
The Belgarian series by David Eddings is amazing.
yes, I love that series. When I first came across it, and like, oh, I know how this ends. It's a farm boy story. We've seen it 1,000 times, but I still fell in love with the story because how they get from A to B.
No, it's definitely a hero's journey story, and you're right. But the how they get there, the journey is as important as the destination in those kinds of stories. That was the Belgariad series with the grandfather was the first time I encountered the concept of a shifter, because you remember he shifts into a wolf, and I'm like, that's where I kind of fell in love with wolves and werewolves. But he's not actually a wolf, like, so he's not a proper shifter. He's just or a were creature. He's just shifting forms.
Yeah,
which I really enjoyed.
he's a level 1 shifter.
Well, they didn't cover that in the book, so you're applying that.
Yeah, but there's several levels of shifters. There's the level 1 shifter where you just become the ammo. Level 2 is where you become a mix of the two, and then there's level 3 when you become a hulking behemoth.
Is this something you created for your organizational structure?
No, that's just how I organize most shifted novels because that's how a lot of people, for the better word, categorize it.
Okay. But one of the things they did in that one, for instance, was the idea that you have to understand the thing to do the thing. Because, like, I say this over and over again. Like, if you go back in time, everyone's like, well, we'll just bring cars back. Well, no, because can you understand how a combustion engine works? I can drive one. I can't tell you how the engine works. And so they had that scene where Bulgarion's in the market, and he comes across the blind man, and he accidentally heals him with magic.
Yeah.
And his grandmother, Paul, I think Paul was her name, was
Pogra.
Yeah, she was basically saying, like, you shouldn't be able to do that because you don't understand how the eyes work. You just instinctively did the thing without understanding how it works to fix it. And I like that enunciation with the magic, like intent versus understanding, and how not having the understanding behind the intent can sometimes cause problems if you're not lucky.
Yep.
And so I really liked the way he played with that, the consequences of magic, in that example. And I just like his writing in general.
Yeah, I like his I like how he did everything. I like Malorian as well, though it pretty much the same story all over again, but I still liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. So I got no complaints there. There was some subtle differences, and it was a passing of the torch to kind of the next generation. So I enjoyed that as well because he has his family at that point,
Yeah,
and everyone's sort of it's the post epilogue of the first series kind of starting point.
And I will freely admit I teared up a little when Belden got his wife.
Yeah, that was a moving scene. So when you have the themes, or are there any themes that you really speak to? So, for instance, when I read military fiction, I like the everyman soldier. I like the drafty common man story. I mean, like everybody wants to write about the super secret squirrels, but I find the average man in the extraordinary circumstances to be more fascinating. Is there anything in fantasy that you especially like?
Well, I especially like the world, how it works, and not exactly hard magic, but just the how everything feels, and you understand what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. So do you have are you in love with maps? Because I love me some maps in my fantasy novels.
I made my own maps.
Oh, what'd you use to make them?
GIMP.
Oh, okay. So you actually produced them. You just didn't sketch it.
Well, I sketched it first, then I copied, put it in the printer to try to put it on the computer. Didn't turn out too good, so I redone it myself 100,000 times.
Okay. I enjoy looking at them. I like what you see a lot of coming out of Incarnate, which gives it that old fantasy, old world history map, to the point where sometimes it's got that here be dragons in the water or here be monsters kind of thing.
Yeah, I got the map right here in front of me.
Okay. Okay, let me give you a whole screen real quick so we can do that. Okay. That looks nice.
And we got two maps, a realm map and one that more focuses on a specific region.
Okay.
So everybody's color coded, for lack of a better term.
That is cool. Okay. So do you have any themes that you really like? You mentioned the hero's journey. Is that something you really enjoy?
Yes, I really enjoy the hero's journey. I enjoy the the Dark Forest, the Dark Lords, and of course sometimes I like the twists and timey wimeyiness.
Okay. Well, I want to get started talking about the series that brought us here. So we're going to pause for a moment while I shamelessly show for the man, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Dreamweavers.
35 awesome stories started by one kick-ass meme. It started as a joke. Storm Area 51, they said. They can't stop all of us, they said. But all laughter has stopped when the U.S. Air Force mobilized and pulled out the big guns. However, relentless mockery and derision by the media and the powers that be pushed the dweebs and alien enthusiasts too far. What else were they supposed to do? They said why not, and showed up, determined to find out what secrets were hidden behind the walls of the clandestine government facility. Are you brave enough to buy this anthology today? If you are, find out what the government wants to keep hidden. Read Storming Area 51, a Bayonet Books anthology.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. And now we're here to talk about the Dreamweaver series. So as I pull that cover up, can you tell us what the rating, if we were going to use like a movie rating people might be familiar with, would be for the Dreamweaver series?
Teen, I would say it's teen about around 14, 15-ish, but will also heavily say, know your teenager.
Okay. And does that apply for the series or just the first book? Does it get darker as it progresses?
For the whole series.
Okay. All right. So where did the idea that is the Dreamweaver Legacy series come from?
Well, like I said earlier, it was primarily the idea of I took from Chronicles of Narnia, sons of Adam and daughters of Eve being the king. I took that to the next level and made them gods. And well, that means I need to create my own mythology. And another one I really wanted to do was the Dark Lord. And well, let's make the Dark Lord the lead character.
So is this, there's 2 books out. Is this going to be a duology? Are there more books coming?
Oh, there are a lot more books coming. I already have the 3rd one written up.
Okay. So what can you tell us about this world? Like, what do you think makes your world unique?
Because the gods themselves are there. You have to come and speak to them. You can be mind your own business one day, you go lay down, next thing you know, there's one of the gods right there.
So very much inspired by some of the interpretations from antiquity with like the Romans and the Greeks and all the various deities where they believe those pantheons existed and interfered.
Yes, I am a lover of myth, a student of history, and I really felt that a lot of fantasy just got away from the sheer mythology of it.
So is this based on the images? Is this high fantasy or is this urban fantasy?
Epic fantasy.
Epic fantasy, high fantasy. I kind of use those interchangeably, but maybe they're not. We'll have to do an episode where we dive in. So is this technology-wise, are we talking like steampunk, dieselpunk era, kind of medieval, sword and sandal? Like what would the, if we're comparing it to history, what would kind of the vibe of the universe be?
Dark Ages.
Okay.
And I didn't know it, but until after I wrote the 3rd book, I basically remade the Danelaw.
Okay. So what can you tell us about the main characters?
Well, going to back to the first cover, the main character is Alistair. He's the one in the lead. Next to the lady with the horn is Selena, the goddess of dreams, and with her is Lataka, the red squirrel. In the back, we have Rosalind, Johann, and Istria, the elf.
And so it's party adventure, going on a quest, kind of like a almost like a D&D type game where you've got a group of people. Are all of them POV characters, or is just one of them and the rest are supporting?
In the first book, the main POV is Alistair and Selena. Selena is the youngest princess of the nation that Alistair finds himself in. He is not technically from this world. He's from another world called Gia, which is another fantasy world that he is transported to this one. Well, everybody so happens to know his name, and in his world he's a Dark Lord, but in this one he's an old pagan god who so happens to be the favorite fairy tale of Selena.
Okay. So what kind of magic do they have then? Because if you're talking about gods, I'm assuming magic is involved.
Yes, we use a pretty soft magic system. So, but
Um,
there is some hard rules. Well, one being since Alistair is a Dark Lord, he cannot use white magic or things like that. He primarily uses shadows, fire, and you can see him use runes sometimes. While Selena, her race is Anari, basically unicorn folk. They are basically able to take magic straight from the air and use it however they deem.
so you say Dark Lord. What exactly does that mean? I always think Dark Lord is someone like who's evil.
Dark Alistair basically think of a dangerous rogue. He might help you and he might not, depending on his mood and whether or not you've been polite. There is a scene early in the book where he gets kicked of the out of the tavern, and well, he finishes his beer and gives the tavern owner a silver coin, but also puts a curse on it because he was so rude to him. So that the whole that would make the that traps him in the tavern while it burns down. And the only way for him to escape is he gives up that silver coin. But the keeper is a greedy git, so he dies because of his greed. So pretty heavy fey element.
Okay. Um, so is he a morally gray character then you would say, or is he the good guy? Like,
He's morally gray. There's one scene in the book where Serena thinks he's trying to seek redemption for his actions, and he laughs and says it's already too late for him. That he has chose the darkness, and he has chosen it wisely.
okay. And what about the supporting cast? What can you tell me about them?
Our main supporting cast is well Rosalind, Johann, and Istria. Rosalind is a is a Savani, which is a consider think of a lesser beastman, but because most of this world is dominated by the Savani and the Anari gods. She is Selena's best friend, but she is very prideful, and she often bicker with Johann the Turncoat, who was sworn to serve Selena's sister, but due to some events, she he chose to follow and help Selena over Morgana, her sister. And Istria is from the same world as Alistair, and she in love with Alistair. 'cause he he saved her people from the dragons.
So are the dragons good guys or bad guys in this story?
Think of a big cat.
So just predators without, good or bad?
Well, yes and no. It depends on which type of dragon you're dealing with. Because most of the dragons from from the world that we take place in, they have their own empire and pretty civilized. While in Gia, sure got their own territory they control, but they're bullies and basically help destroy the elven people and separate them about 10 different directions. And actually likes the taste of the meat.
So what all kinds of fantasy creatures can we expect in this universe?
Oh, I'm so many, so many. I got entire glossaries full of creatures, but you'll be mostly seeing beastkin because in this world, the only human you will ever see is Alistair.
So what level of beastkin are we talking about as far as the degree of beast versus human form? Like that, you see all kinds of degrees on imagery. Are we talking they mostly look like animals with humanoid forms, or humans that just have ears and tails?
But out somewhere in the middle, there's some creatures that more towards the animal, towards the beast, and others a little bit more human looking. And yes, we do have lamias here.
Yeah, that's a weird one, but okay. Do you have snake people?
Yep, we have we have at least two different groups of snake people. The northern and the southern lamias. If you like monster girls, they're pretty much standard.
Okay. Um, so when we talk about like the action, you mentioned that the I think we talked about this in the pre-show that it's teen. The any romance in the bedroom is going to be fade to black. You said. What about levels of violence? Are we dealing with?
Pretty descriptive violence for the most part. There's one scene where Alistair takes down a lich with using corpses to take him down, and there's another scene which one of the darkest scenes that I happen to really like, where one of the adversaries, makes a deal with an imp and gets trapped in it. So the imp will shove his entire arm down her gullet to carve runes in her inside on the inside of her throat.
So that's kind of dark. So I'm assuming if your characters met you in a dark alley, you're going to end badly then.
Oh yes,
Because it sounds like you're being pretty mean.
especially what I do to them.
Okay.
That's not the worst thing I do.
Okay.
But that's in book 2.
All right.
And the scene I just described with the imp that happens at the very end of book 1.
So what made you go for Beastkin as the world instead of like the elves and dwarves and more classic?
Because I enjoy the more bestial races, and
Okay.
yes, we do have elves and dwarves, or at least they are mentioned, but they are far, far away most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, we got, and most of the other fantasy races will be in the other world.
Okay. Now, are they going back and forth between the two worlds, or is it more like standard Portal Fantasy where once the door closes, it's closed? Or is that a spoiler?
It really depends, because Alistair spends most of book 1 trying to figure out how do I get back home, and towards the end, we see one of the gods from his world pop up, and he asks him, "What's going on? Why are the Beerus are here? I found evidence that we have been here. What's going on?" And the god says, "I don't know. we the people have been coming here since the spring that was since the spring that never came. So basically, they always been coming there. They just don't know why or how. They just pop.
And I'm assuming that's the mystery of the series.
That is one of the mysteries.
Okay. Um, is this the kind of world you'd want to live in?
Yes, yes and no. Really depends on which part you want to live in. Because since I'm a human, I probably want to live with the native Asgardians. Asgardians. That's most. That's everybody that's not a Nari or a Savani, who believe humans are this ancient pagan gods that must be destroyed.
Not dying would be a good thing. So, is there anything else about this world that you think people need to know before we wrap this one up? Then,
Well, that the squirrel right there on the horse's head, that's Rataka, who happens to be a very fan favorite. He, and he talks, and nobody knows why. He's and you ask him, he says, "Oh, I always talk. Nobody's cared enough to listen."
okay. So, is that something you're going to explore in the story, or was that just a quirky thing you did for fun?
It's a quirky thing I did for fun, but we might get an answer, we might not. Like, if, for example, we never get a full answer into who exactly is Alistair, because he's a Dark Lord in one world and a god in another world, and he has memories of both lives. And if you ever ask him himself, he simply says, "I am Alistair."
Does he have the god powers in this book?
Yes. In this world, he is considered to be the old god of shadows, flame, and magic, while Selena is the goddess of dreams of the Anari.
Okay. Was there anything else you think that readers need to know before they go out and buy this series?
This, hmm, this, it's it would be a great read. Well, at least I would think it would be a great read.
And you're not biased at all.
and and it, and it does have a very good romance though. We have a romance between Alistair and Selena that's is pretty slow for the most part, and a lot of people say that they actually like the romance between the two of them.
Okay. Slow burn has its place, and some people really, really dig that. So,
And
is this going to be coming out an audiobook?
not at the moment. I almost had an audio deal, but it fell through because book two was taking so long to come out. And book two is basically everything book one is, but much much better. That we got the politics are deeper. It's much darker. The romance is much better, and we actually see some no, of course some comedy bits, but we see some horrible bits, at least in the eyes of the characters. Like, for example, they when they get to the next nation, which was the goal. Well, they said when where everything was supposed to be safe, but the main one of the main villains so happens to the, be be the one that rules there, and he's completely obsessed with Selena, who is the patron goddess of his people, and so he meets them and he seems all nice guy until they get to his house, where his entire house is a temple to Selena in the worst ways possible. And well, normally Alistair would kill that man for what he done, but he can't because that man is the reigning duke of the territory, and he doesn't want to force his lovers and into a life of on the run because they're supposed to be safe here.
Okay. So this is the part, dear listener, where I'm going to remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. So do your part. It really does matter. If someone wanted to track you down, Vincent, on the Wild Water interwebs, and as usual, links will be in the show notes, but how might they find you?
You can find me on Facebook and in my Substack, thepidgeoncoop.com, and I'm there almost every day, and you can find me. And I think that's about it for the.
All right. And you can find us, dear listener, on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things: the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters. We've got our Spotify, our Discord, our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. We have our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Stabby tab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it's for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-host duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee until they get high on their own supply. And if you want some of that coffee brand coffee, the link is in the show notes. The discount code is Podcast Grunts. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win, people. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time to indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And with that, we're out. Wait for it.